What is race like? The concept of race. What does that mean to you? It's episode 217 of the Cassius Morris Show. Thanks for tuning into this brand new edition of the podcast. Real quick before we start off, a little announcement. I did a guest appearance on Lee Syatt's podcast, What Was I Thinking? I just wanted to let everybody know that it was a really fun time chatting with Lee. He recently did this podcast as well. But to check out my guest appearance on his show, click the link in the description below here on YouTube or Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Definitely go check that out. And shout out to my man Lee. He's doing big things with his podcast, and I'm really excited to see what's next for him. My guest today on this episode of the show is Tommy Edison. Tommy got his start as the blind film critic on radio, soon building his popularity to appearances on shows such as Tosh.0 and The Howard Stern Show. From there, he built his success up on YouTube, reaching millions and millions of views all around the world, and raising awareness about what it's like to be blind, and really just every aspect of blindness that you would want to know about, and also to help people about. You know, one thing I really like about Tommy is that he's all about teaching and helping, and that's one thing that I really appreciate about him. I gotta be honest, I had a little bit of trouble asking some of these questions because I never want to make somebody feel like they're, up for display and being shown off in some way because of a disability or for any reason and sort of being prodded or, I never want to make anybody feel that way in a conversation. But the thing that Tommy made very clear to me is that he wants to be asked questions about blindness to raise awareness and in turn help people. So he you're about to see it, but he really made me feel okay about asking him questions about this, which I appreciate. And just some really eye-opening moments in this conversation. Ever since I've had this conversation with Tommy, I've been thinking about it, and I really appreciate him taking the time to answer these questions for me. Check out all the links relevant to Tommy Edison in the description, whether you're tuned in on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify. And wherever you're currently tuned in, please click that subscribe button on all of these platforms to get notified about every single piece of content that I put up. We have new content every week. We have clips coming out from past episodes of the show into new rotation all the time. So there's really consistent new content coming out, and you don't want to miss any of this. So click that subscribe button and, of course, the notification bell right next to it to stay up to date with all of my stuff. Also, follow me on social media, all platforms, at Cassius Morris and at Cassius Show. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Also, if you want more of my content, check me out every single week on Sound Mojo. The podcast is called Inner Sleeve, powered by the Watch Mojo Podcast Network. And over on that show, we have music podcasts every single Thursday, not only bringing you exclusive interviews and access to guests, but also group topics, group conversations, and lots of stuff that you won't see on this program. You get to see me in more of a group environment. So it's definitely a little bit of a different flavor, a bit of a different twist, and always keeping me busy. I got 2 podcasts coming out every single week, and I'm doing clips in between, and I'm loving every second of it. Honestly, when I look back at this time, I think I've heard it described as a very fertile time for what you're doing. So definitely having a lot of fun right now. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation I had with the one and only Tommy Edison. Tommy Edison, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great, brother. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. It's great to hear your voice. Setup's looking good. I just want to know how you're doing first and foremost.
I'm doing whoa, hang on a second. There we go. I'm doing great. Thank you. It's life is good. It's getting to be springtime. It's all good. I'm having a nice time.
Decent times. For me today, I had one of the most normal days I've had in a while because I said, instead of just getting a haircut and leaving the mall, I'm going to actually walk around the mall, be amongst the land of the living. And I got to say, it did me a lot of good.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah,
it's just one of those things where I think the lockdown, I don't know what it's been like for you or where exactly you're located, but I found it very odd just only talking to people pretty much over Zoom.
Yeah, it's been very weird that way. And, listening to it, like a lot of the shows, for example, the television, all kinds of things are done this way. So, the audio quality has changed a bit, right, during this whole thing. which has been pretty strange. But you do the best you can. You make do, right?
No doubt. That was a cool thing about it too, is that I feel like it put everybody on a more level playing ground, because a podcast is already competing with Fallon, but once Fallon is using the same equipment as a podcaster, that it sort of evens it out a bit. It's been
Good for you.
fascinating.
Yeah, I know all these. Yeah, everybody's at home and stuff, and yeah, it all kind of sounds like this. So you're right. It does sort of level the playing field.
No doubt. So Tommy, I feel like you're one of those people that I've been aware of for forever, but I mean, I can't remember exactly how I became aware of you. So like, how did this journey start for you? That's really the first thing I want to know.
We started out a long time ago doing the first thing that I was hanging out with. So when I say we, I mean the great Ben Churchill. He was my creative partner, a great friend. I've known him forever and ever and ever. And we started to mess around with video production stuff. And we got the idea one night to do movie reviews and call it the Blind Film Critic. And so that was my first foray, just about 10 years ago. In fact, 10 years this April will be the anniversary of the first movie review that we ever did. And we put it up. We had no idea what was going to happen. Literally, we did it on Thursday night. Friday morning, we finished shooting what we were doing. Ben dropped me off at work and said, "I don't know, we'll see." And then it went up later on that day, and it all sort of took off from there. That Monday, Roger Ebert tweeted out my review of Scream 4, and that was really
Nice.
It was incredible. And that was the jump off. That was how it all began.
So, I mean, here's the challenge for me, is trying to ask original questions, because there's such a wealth of information about you out there that you've given us. So how exactly do you approach a movie review? I mean, what is it like for you when you're watching a film like Scream 4?
Oh, Scream 4 was a mess. It was
Okay, I agree.
It's it's a genre of film that I'm really not a great fan of to start with, because a lot of the horror stuff sort of leaves me behind, right? As a blind person, those minutes of silence or just screaming or whatever it is, they all sort of get lost on me. So, that was kind of a mess. But I look at a film for story. I look at the performances, just the way that they do it, the music, all the Foley art, all the sounds and everything that they use and stuff. I've always said that content is king when it comes to a movie, and it's so true. It's all about the story.
And the writing and I guess the music would make a huge impact also.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, look, what I always talk about, one of my favorite films of all time is Goodfellas. I just love it. It's a great watch. It just moves like a train. It just goes and goes and goes, and when that Nielsen song is playing, Into the Fire, when Henry Hill is trying, he's got he's trying to move some coke or whatever he's trying to do.
Right.
He's got his brother stirring the sauce, and the helicopters are watching him. That music just adds so much to it. It just, you know what I mean? It adds that tension that, and every time I hear that song, Jump Into the Fire, I always think of Henry Hill. Always.
I mean, what an impeccable scene, and an incredible movie. I know you're a big fan of The Sopranos, which I am too, actually, and I loved your interview with Joey Pants, Ralph Cifaretto. That was great.
Oh, it was a thrill for me too, to actually get to sit and chat with him and hear him tell stories. And he's a lovely man. He's very cool, but again, he's one of those people, right? When he comes on screen, it's just magic, and it's one of those things that you can't teach. It's not in any book, but some people have it, and Joey Pants certainly he's got a ton of it. You know what I mean? He comes on screen, and even talking to him in person. You know what I mean? He's captivating.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Very, multifaceted as an actor. So,
oh yeah.
How did you start interviewing people? Was that from your background in sort of radio, or was that just from the success of your online stuff?
Yeah, that was just as a result of the things that we've been doing online and things. I was never really an interviewer on the radio. I'm not really much of an interviewer by trade. This is
right.
So this was just a thing, and we happened to have an opportunity to chat with him. So, we just went for it and got to talk to him on camera, and he was nice enough to do it for me and stuff. So yeah, that was my first foray into interviewing. Really, I haven't really done it much since.
So that I was gonna say, because I haven't seen your other interviews, so that was maybe just a one-off that we may or may not see again.
That's correct. Yeah. I like to leave that to you guys, you professionals who do this, all the time and ask great questions,
Well, I thought you did a damn good job because I couldn't tell it was your first time.
Thank you, sir. That's awfully nice of you to say. That's very kind.
No, this is just the truth. So, you mentioned your love of music and film. What are some of your earliest memories of culture that you really started to enjoy in terms of entertainment?
Look, I can tell you the first time I ever heard rock and roll, at least the first time I remember hearing rock and roll, was in the back of this junky station wagon that my parents had. Mm-hmm. And I must have been like a Beatles record or something like that. And I just heard it and it changed my life, and to hear, I always talk about when I was 5, 6 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for a living already. I wanted to do one of two things. I wanted to either be a pop star, make music and have it being played on the radio, or be the person that was on the radio playing the records of the other pop stars. You know what I mean?
Right.
So those were the things I wanted to do. At 5, I knew that's, I want to be in entertainment in some way, shape, or form. And the fact that, I actually got to do it and was on the radio and had a pretty decent radio career, it's wicked. It's very cool.
Yes, it is. So, and I, forgive me because I'm sure you've answered this, 1,000 times.
Oh, don't you worry.
Since this morning. But born blind always, or did it come in later?
No, blind since birth. Yep. I'm OG, baby.
OG. So
yeah, man.
What exactly, was life like? Did it feel difficult for you, or did life has it felt normal for you, if that makes sense?
Look, there's been a sort of a normalcy that's been through my whole life and a difficulty at the same time, because my parents raised me to, in my opinion, blind people are generally in a couple of different groups. There's the group that's been mainstreamed, like myself, and there's a group that has gone to, blind schools and things like that for their, a lot of their lives. And so I was in the mainstream part. So I have 3 sisters, and my mom and dad wanted me to do the things that the girls were doing. They wanted me to have all the experiences that they had. So I learned how to ride a bike. I hung out with and just did all and got in trouble, and caused trouble and did all that kind of stuff that you do as a kid.
Right.
So, in that respect, but like you put things like school in the mix, or for example, turning 16, which is a rite of passage in this country, right? When you get your driver's license and stuff, that was hard because I watched my older sisters get their licenses when they were supposed to. And then all my friends and all my crew were starting to get their licenses and I wasn't. And then watching people, I have a sister who's 2 years younger, and watching her get her license, I really felt left out, left behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's, so it's a little mix of both, but I've grown up like having fun and doing all the things that sighted kids did. That's why I got a job in radio, because I figured, well, why not? I could do this too, Right. And so I just went for it. And that's kind of what you have to do in a lot of respects, I think.
No, most definitely. So you had an interest sort of in cars, it sounds like. So is that what kind of led to the traffic aspect of the radio?
No, I didn't care about cars at all. I wanted to be, well, no, it's funny. No, it's a great question though, because you would think, right? But no, I just wanted to be on the radio. So I didn't care what I was doing on the radio as long as I was on it. Right.
Gotcha.
So I didn't care if I was going to do the farm report or the stock reports or play country music or whatever it was going to be. I was going to do it. So a traffic job opened up and I took it. And gotcha. I made myself, And so I don't care about cars or traffic or any of that kind of thing. I just want to be on the radio. And
so it was like a youthful desire to drive. It wasn't like I love cars so much necessarily.
No, I wanted to do what the other kids did and I couldn't. Right. And it's just this weird ironic thing that, put me as a traffic reporter for nearly 20 years in Connecticut.
What was it like for you when you moved out on your own? Was that a very difficult transition, or again, was it just like, this is my life, I'm just living?
No, it was just, this is my life, this is living. I worked crummy radio jobs making no money for a long time. So I didn't move out of my mom's house till later. I was older when I moved out of my mom's house, which, but that's what, sometimes you take these, $150 a week jobs, but it gets you the experience and things like that. So, That's the kind of stuff I did. And then it was time to go. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I've been doing it the whole time anyway. Right. So, the things it was just going to be a different house, a different setup and some different mobility things. But all in all, it was a nice, smooth transition. It was nice and easy. I grew up in Southern Connecticut, Southwestern Connecticut, right in the, it's funny. They call it the tri-state area because it's, you're in the New York City umbrella. So you have, Westchester and Long Island, you have New Jersey, and then us up in Connecticut, a little bit farther north and east. And so I grew up listening to New York radio and watching New York television. I didn't even realize it was, big Connecticut radio for a long time because it was all New York.
That's what I hear. New York sort of dominates a lot of those markets just because it's almost unavoidable.
Yeah, I mean, it's giant. And, again, it's the number one market in the country. So all the best people are going to be there. Right? Allegedly, they're supposed to be anyway. All the top of television and radio and stuff, they all work in New York. And so, that's what I grew up with. I grew up listening to giant, legendary disc jockeys and stuff. And those were the guys that made me want to do radio.
Howard Stern?
Howard was later for me because I'm older. I'm nearly 100, but no, I'm just kidding. But you know who turned me out of the Howard Stern show? My mother.
Did she? See, that's not not the typical story.
Well, because I come from a family of like the comedy is big for us. My mom loves to laugh. Her family, my dad's family is pretty funny people too. So, and my mom was just into it and she was like, you got to hear this guy. This Howard Stern is something else. And so that was the thing that got me started on the Stern show. And I was a fan for a very long time and actually got to appear on it once.
Yes, which is so crazy to me because by the time I became a fan, like the Artie days were so over and it was so history. Yeah. So like seeing you sitting there on the couch is like seeing you sit in a place that doesn't really exist in my reality. It's so fascinating. I mean, what was it like at that time that you're describing? Because, having not been there, it sounds to me like Howard was bigger than life, like Beatles level almost in New York.
He really was. Howard Stern was a giant. He was, I mean, look, in the movie in Private Parts, there's a scene where they talk about people that don't like Howard or the people that like Howard to listen to him 45 minutes in a row. Every day. They'll listen for 45 to 60 minutes. People that don't like them will listen to 90 to 120 minutes and they both listen for the same reason because they don't know what he's going to do next. Exactly. And so that's how, I mean, like Howard was so big. I used to listen at work when I was doing the traffic. I would listen to the Stern show just to see what they were doing because I didn't want to miss it because you
even
never
at
knew.
Another radio station, you're tuned into Howard.
Sure. Absolutely. Yep.
That's awesome.
And then later on, I was listening to the Opie and Anthony show too, after Howard moved over to, to satellite because I couldn't listen to that at the radio station. So, I listened to other things. Yep. But yes, Howard was the biggest thing on the radio in New York at that time. He dominated, absolutely dominated.
What are your thoughts on guys like Joe Rogan compared to Howard Stern in terms of the domination? Does it feel different since it's on the internet, and are you paying attention to stuff like that?
Yeah, no. Rogan did a lot of good things. He owned podcasting for a long time. I think that it's sort of different now. That Spotify move, I don't know if it was quite the right thing, but the money feels good, so I guess that's what you do. But yeah, Rogan was, a giant force in podcasting, and he brought this to a lot of people were checking it out, and he had a diverse bunch of people that were on with him, all kinds of different thinkers and stuff like that. So yeah, but it's different. See, when you're on the radio, there's certain stations or companies that you work for. When you're out here on the internet, you're all by yourself. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of work to do to try and build an audience. I know it's tough, right? It's hard work every day trying to get out there and get people to pay attention to what you're doing and stuff like that. But it's great fun and there's nothing like it. This is the new radio. This is it. This is what people listen to. Then, they don't listen to the radio like they used to. There's no need. It breaks my heart to tell you that, but it's the truth.
No, it's sad but true, and that's why, I see Howard Stern, like, he just re-signed for, I think he's going to be 70 when he retires, and I think that makes sense, because I'm not sure if Sirius is going to be handing out checks like that to people in the future.
No, I don't think so either. And Howard probably, got a little bit more money than he probably deserves at this point. What does he do? 3 days a week now? And the
Right.
show is completely different than what it was. I mean, it's a different show. And
Yeah.
I get it. He's older and stuff like that, but don't try and make your past go away either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point too. Talking about growing up in the tri-state area, is it easier to grow up without vision in certain places or to navigate through certain cities, or is it something that doesn't feel quite as different as you would think?
It's funny. It's an interesting question. Because I get around. I'm a cane traveler. I used to have a dog. I had two guides actually, and it's an awful lot of responsibility. So I just prefer to be a cane traveler. It's just easier for me.
Right.
I moved to California a couple of years ago. I was actually there twice. I was there in 2016, and I went back in 2019. And I really taught myself the neighborhoods. I just went around and listened to Apple Maps on my phone and just in
Right.
400 feet. I'm like, okay, that's probably another block. Okay, good. And that was how I learned my way around, just like that. And it's, yeah. So and the thing about Southern California, where I lived, I was living in Santa Monica, which was a great walking town. It was a wonderful place to, just to live and be able to walk everywhere.
Right.
So that was really nice. And I loved walking around. I used to walk around all the time, until everything happened. And then it sort of changed and, kind of, I don't know. It was almost as if it was taken away. You know what I mean? So
When the
I don't know.
pandemic hit?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, California,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it was probably the most locked down, maybe other than Italy. I mean,
Yeah, it really was. The governor really locked it down very hard and, crushed a lot of business, I think. It's,
Yes.
It's tough. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. But it's, it's a different place than it was when I first got there. It's completely different. So,
Yes.
I got out of there.
You got out of there? Yeah. See, it's been
Yes,
really
sir.
strange for me to watch it because, I live in Canada and I've always, I've been to some places in the States and I've always wanted to go to LA, but I've never got the chance. And I don't necessarily even want to visit right now because it just sounds like there's so many issues.
No, it's not. It's not the same place. The same with New York. I love New York City. I mean, when we were kids, we used to go down to the Village and stuff and go buy imports and things like, old records and things, trying to buy, 12 inches and 45 and things like that. All the things that were coming out in the UK, all the punk records and all that stuff. And like New York is not the same anymore. And I remember, I always talk about old scary New York before Rudy Giuliani.
Right.
Because New York had a sort of a different feel in those days.
Like in the Joker movie.
And then yeah, exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yep. New York was sort of dirty and sort of dingy a little bit, but it certainly had class and it had character and all that kind of thing. But then Giuliani came along and sort of Disneyfied it and cleaned it all up. And but now it's gone back to that sort of scary thing, and it's well, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's modern day, so it doesn't maybe have even any of the charm I would assume that it maybe had before. I mean, or the same charm in terms of the dinginess, because there was sort of an appeal and an aesthetic, to it.
Big time. And we, I come from a time where you could smoke everywhere. You could smoke cigarettes. I'm a former cigarette smoker. I've been off of them forever now. But,
right.
We used to be able to smoke in Grand Central Station and hang out. The Grand Central Station was a nutty place to play because there are parts of that room. I don't know if you've ever been there, but
No.
you can stand in opposite corners of the big room in Grand Central Station and have a conversation with somebody.
Wow.
Because the way it's designed acoustically, yeah, it's a really cool room. It's a fun room. But you can't mess around like that anymore. Not today. It's all shops and all kinds of things. Back then there was nothing there. It was just a train station.
Wow. But acoustically, I mean, so when it's full of people, it must be insanely noisy.
It is, but you can hear, for example, there's a lot of people busking, right? Playing music and things like that. Somebody blowing a tenor saxophone, trying to make some money or whatever, but you can hear it all throughout the room. And it's really cool. It's very cool. I love the street musicians and the buskers in the city.
No, I love that. I mean, I like to go online and on YouTube and see the live streams of people walking to sort of give you that feeling and put headphones on, hear the sounds, and I'll be there eventually. It's just I'm not in a rush to really go much of anywhere at this point, and I feel very blessed to be in Canada because we're getting a lot of help with the situation, so.
Yes, you are. Yep. And you're where? Alberta, right?
Yeah, Edmonton, Alberta, but
Yep.
I definitely love the USA, and I'd love to be in Nevada one day. So that's setting my sights there, maybe.
Well, I'm telling you what, I don't know if you gamble or anything, but Vegas is an awful lot of fun. It's a great time, and hopefully it'll come back and be what it was, because I mean, it was great when it was around. It was awesome.
Oh my gosh, yes, I actually got to go there. I'm 22. I got to go there for my 21st birthday, and it was like pumping like it'd never been. And I feel like if things don't open up, at least I got to go have a ball right before the shutdown and see it as it was.
Good boy. Good for you. Did you play any? Did you play a little blackjack or poker or anything?
We did a little bit of the machines. I'm almost scared to learn blackjack because I think I'm going to like it a lot.
You are going to like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's a great game.
And I think poker too. So you play that?
Not poker. I can't. Poker's hard for me to play because I need to be able to see my cards and I can't do it. But blackjack, I absolutely love blackjack, and
nice.
I love playing it. Yeah, I can sit and play it all night long if I'm winning.
Yeah.
And I've been knock wood. I'll knock on my head, but I've been very fortunate and very lucky. And done very well. Well, we had in Connecticut. There's the world's largest resort casino.
Oh, really?
It's called Foxwoods. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right.
And so a good friend of mine and I used to go there a couple of times a week. It was like going to the ATM for us.
Right.
Just taking out money.
I know that
it was
from
great.
Artie, from listening to Stern.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's where Artie used to go. Certainly. Yep. Us too. My friend Norton and I used to go play all the time, go play blackjack. And it's great. But so there's a couple of people online who teach gambling stuff. And one of them is called the Wizard of Odds. And that's who I would watch if I wanted to learn how to play a game, because he's very good.
Okay, Wizard of Odds. Now, is this something that's easy to pick up, or would this take me like a couple days, a week?
No. If we were hanging out, if we were, for example, so Foxwoods was about an hour from my house. So on the car ride from my house to Foxwoods, I could teach you all the rules of blackjack.
Okay, gotcha.
And you would know them, and then I would teach you, and then we'd have a quiz and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a fairly easy game to learn. And again, you play by the book. You always play by the book. Even if you're playing with an automatic shuffler, you still play by the book.
How do you feel about Atlantic City?
Love Atlantic City. Are you kidding? I mean, again, back in the day, it was great fun. I don't know what it's like now. But I've been a few times and had some, I went to the Borgata a couple of times and some of the other places down there, the old resorts and things like that. It's one of the first casinos I was ever in. One of the first bunch of them I was ever in was AC.
Very cool. So many cool spots to check out. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Another thing I know about you, Tommy, is that you were on Tosh.0. I'm just curious what that experience was like and how long it took you sort of throughout the day and all that.
Again, that was a lovely experience. They couldn't have been nicer. So they reached out and, they'd heard about the Blind Film Critic and wanted to do an Oscar type of show and thought it might be fun with me. And so we did it. And they said, look, we're going to put you in a tuxedo. Is this going to be all right? It's going to be an art. I was like, yeah, don't you worry about it. It's all good. And so we did, I went with Ben, of course, and we got there at 6:00 in the morning, maybe 5:30. And we, they did wardrobe and stuff and hair and makeup and everything. And then we sat and answered questions for a long time. And the funny thing about it was just hanging out with him. And then there'd be people off the set going, number 9. He'd be like, oh, okay, that's a good one. I'll try that one. And they just shout because they had 30 questions or something. And so they just shout out some questions. He would do his thing. And then they'd be like, try 13, give him 13. Okay. Yeah. So Tosh was great fun. That took a couple of hours and they just could not have been nicer. Really, really good time. Great fun.
That's so cool. Huge shows. I mean, Stern, Tosh. I mean, you must get recognized fairly often.
You know what? I used to back when in California, when I was there in 2016 and 17, it was because we were doing a lot of YouTube and I'd get into an Uber, for example. A couple of times I would get in Ubers and the guy would look back and go, "Hey, Tommy Edison, what are you doing in my car?" I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me."
Yeah, you tell me. Going to my destination,
you pick
bro.
me up. Yeah, exactly right. So it's lovely. I really enjoy that. And it's, I like when people come up and say hi. Because if there's somebody that you enjoy, you should be able to go up and say hi to them and tell them you appreciate their work or whatever you want,
Yeah.
So I really enjoy it when people do. I love it.
What's the main thing people sort of say in terms of a question when they see you?
I guess the big question is, how do you do it? How do you do it? I mean, I couldn't do what you do. I could not do. Of course you could. If you had to, you could. Right. But you can see, so you just imagine my world and don't, as much as my world is fascinating to you, your world is just as interesting to me. Right. So that's one of the big things. How do you do it? How do you, or then they want to know, they run through just a litany of questions, how do you want to touch my face? No, I'm good. I'm all right. Thank you.
What's one question you should never ask someone who can't see?
Probably the one question nobody should ever ask. No, I don't know. I see, because to me, look, people are different, right? Me, I don't care. You can ask me anything you like, because I can also say no thanks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you ask me something and I don't want to talk about it, just no thanks. I'm good with that one. But other than that, I mean, because I want you to ask anything you want, because I want you to learn. I want to teach you too. Right. So I'm an open book. You can ask me anything you like about the experience or whatever, because, the more you know about my world is great, because I know an awful lot about yours. So I'd love for you to know more about mine as well.
For sure. Why is it important for you to teach people about your life and your experience?
Again, I think it's just for an understanding. I think that one of the things that happened, several years ago, I was walking around my town in Connecticut, and I always thought it was me goofing up, because maybe I'd walk into something and people would freak out, or I would do this and people, oh no, be careful. But then I realized it's not me, it's them, because people have never seen this before. Right. So they don't know how to act or to react. So, I think that's the biggest thing, so that I could teach you, so that when you see me on the street, you don't freak out and go, oh, be careful. Oh my God. Right. Because when you're nervous, it makes me nervous. Right. You transfer that sort of energy right to me.
So you're showing people I'm not like this fragile being. I'm just a guy living his life, and this is how I live my life. Yeah. And I just happen to walk around with a stick in my hand, in my left hand, and I'm just tapping away, and, but that's how I get around the world. And so, yeah, that would be the one thing that I'd want, and that's why I sort of teach people and want to show people and answer all your questions. I mean, that's what we do on YouTube. Been doing that for a very long time, just answering the nuttiest questions. I mean, people, but it's the truth, and it's wonderful. And I love the curiosity. I can't get enough of it. And, the fact that you want to learn, it's okay. So we'll teach you, I mean, yes. Wonderful questions. Like, does it bother you that you don't know what you look like? Or do you turn the lights on when you're home alone? Things like this. They would never, my friends and people I've known all my life would never ask me, but on YouTube, that's a great question. Do your friends and family watch your content?
No.
Okay. See, mine don't either. Well, some do.
But that's the thing, Cassius. No, your friends and family never watch your stuff, because they get to interact with you and talk with you all the time. So they never watch your stuff. They just don't. It's true. When I was on the radio, my friends didn't listen to me on the radio, and like my family would check me out. They'd just pop it on just to see if I was okay. Well, there's Tommy. Okay, we're good. Right. You know what I mean?
Check him out, see how he's doing.
Just for a second. Yep. And then they'll go back and do what they needed to do. But no, your friends and family don't watch you on YouTube. They just don't.
It's true. The only one that I have is my grandmother. She's loyal. She sends me a text about each one, but that's because she's a special breed. But like my own sister, like she'll watch the Instagram clips. But you're right, they get plenty enough of us at home. I mean,
yep, that's right. And it's like, what am I doing? But then you think about it and you go, well, okay, they get to watch me all the time, in person. They don't need to watch me on a screen. They can just, look at my face right here and real HD, whatever you call that.
Right. This is the truth. You know, I'm wondering with this past year, 2020, there was so much stuff about race relations, and that's, to my dismay, been made a huge topic. Just to give you some context, I'm half black, half white, so it's like been sort of juggling both of these things. But just for you, what is race like? The concept of race, what does that mean to you?
It doesn't really mean too much. I mean, I like people, you know what I mean? It's sort of race is kind of the same as beauty, right? I don't know from beauty. I know from beauty when I talk to you. I know what comes out of your mouth, what's in your heart, and what's in your head. And that's how I feel about race as well. Because I want to sit and listen to you talk. I want to learn about you. I want to hang out with you. I want to laugh with you and have fun with you, you know, and that's the thing that I like about people. If somebody wants to have a good time and laugh and play and stuff, then we will. But you know, for example, if I'm sitting on an airplane and somebody sits down and how you doing? You know, how we doing today? And they, yeah, where you going? You going home? Okay. And that's my signal to know to leave them alone. They don't want to talk. Okay. Right. You know, and I'll just pop in earbuds and do my own thing. Like that, you know, but that's really how I approach people. You know, I'm sitting next to somebody on a train or at a bar or whatever. You know, try and strike up a conversation. If you don't want to talk, okay. No worries. Cool. But that's, you know, but it doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are. It doesn't matter what color skin you have. It doesn't matter what language you speak, nothing. Well, the language, because then we can sort of communicate with each other if you have a sort of grasp of English. But that's all the stuff, man. I don't care. I don't care about your skin color. I don't care about nothing. It doesn't matter to you.
So in terms of hearing someone talk, can you hear someone and say, okay, this person is, you know, of this descent, or like, can you tell, or does that not come into your mind?
No, I mean, I try to. I'm sort of in my head trying to see if I could guess, but at the same time, you know, it's why assume when you assume you make an ass out of both you and me. It's an old English teacher joke, but it's the truth. Right. So I'm not going to, if I need to know, I'll ask, but I generally don't. It doesn't make any bit of difference to me. You know, I don't care. As long as we're having fun, who cares? You know, like I didn't know you were half black. I had no idea. And now that I know, I don't care. Doesn't mean anything to me.
Exactly.
I don't care. It doesn't make me like you any less, Cassius. I still think you're talented. I still think you're really, I think you're great at what you do. All that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter.
I love that, Tommy. And, you know, I try to surround myself with people in general, you know, sight, you know, deaf, blind, whatever. I don't care who have that philosophy, because I feel the exact same way. And you know, maybe a blessing in disguise in some ways. I mean, it must really help you get in tune with the actual soul, so to speak, of a person.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of the things that I talk about, especially doing the movie reviews, was that I'm not distracted by all the pretty, you know what I mean? By all the nice shots and the beautiful people and all this kind of stuff. I can just sit and enjoy the story for what it is.
Right.
And so I think that in and of itself is a wonderful thing, that I'm not distracted, that I can get right to it. You know, I can just hear what you have to say and not be distracted by your Manolo Blahniks or your Pierre Cardin suit, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, I'm not distracted. I can just be with you.
That's admirable, I have to say. You know, I want to let everybody know on YouTube, the Tommy Edison Experience. I want everybody to go subscribe and check out those new videos. And Tommy, it's been really an honor to speak with you. You're incredible and an inspiration to so many. And thanks for sharing your time with me today.
Cassius, you know what? Thank you for wanting to talk to me. You know what I mean? Because that's cool. So
you're the man.
I appreciate that. No,
so where can people find you?
You can just go to TommyEdison.com. You can go back. You can see all the movie reviews that we did in the very beginning are up there. You can also watch the videos on the Tommy Edison XP channel that are answering questions, viewer questions. And I'll give you a little breaking news here. We're actually trying to figure out some more things to do on the XP channel. So stand by for those. Turn on your notifications. And of course, the podcast every Sunday night. We do it live from 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 West. And you can find all that and the showgram as well. So you can find all that stuff at TommyEdison.com. It's all right there for you.
And there you have it. My exclusive conversation with Tommy Edison. I want to thank Tommy for taking the time to come on my podcast and share some insight with me. It was really an honor and a pleasure to speak with him. And I want to thank you for watching. Of course, check out our guests. All of the links are in the description below. And of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're currently tuned in, be it Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Click that subscribe button and the notification bell next to it so that you can stay alert with all of the things that I'm putting out every single week. We have new episodes once a week of this show. We have clips coming out in between. So all the on-demand content you could ever want from the Cassius Morris Show is available at your fingertips. All you got to do is click subscribe, and it's absolutely free. How beautiful is that? Also, follow me on all social media at Cassius Morris and at Cassius Show. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. New posts almost every single day on one of those platforms. Also, if you want more of my content, check me out on Inner Sleeve over at Sound Mojo, powered by the Watch Mojo Podcast Network, the podcast taking a deep dive inside look at all things music. We have music guests every single Thursday, as well as panel discussions with guest hosts, and I'm really excited about the stuff we're doing over there. The angle for that show is the new MTV, so I think we're establishing that, we're getting to that, and it's building every single week. We have some really exciting guests coming on there, so you don't want to miss that. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. Until next time, this is Cassius Morris saying, rock on.